and taking international business as our concentration. I am Agus Suma,
My name is Devi.
And my name is Liana.
and we are from Group 2. In here, we will explain to you about the introduction to international economy. In this session, we will explain to you about Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. I am Agus Suma with my partner Devi Supaku to explain about world trade and overview.
And me, I will explain about the Richardian theory.
I am Agus Suma. In here, we will explain to you about Chapter 2 in Introduction to International Economic Subject. This chapter, we analyze why countries sell much of what they produce to other countries and why they purchase much of what they consume from other countries. We will also examine the benefits and costs of international trade and the motivation for and effects of government policies, data rates, and interest rates. In here, as the gravity models help to make a sense of the value of trade between any pair of countries and also sheds light of the implements that continue to limit international trade even in today's global economy. We will then turn to changing structure of world trade. As we will see, recent decisions have been marked by a large increase in the share of world output that is sold internationally, by a shift in the world's economic center of gravity toward Asia, and by major change in the type of goods that make up the trade. The next session about the size matter about the gravity models. 3 of the top 15 US trading partners are European nations, Germany, the United Kingdom, and France. Why does the United States trade more heavily with these 3 European countries than with others? The answer is that these are the 3 largest European countries. That is, they have the highest value of gross domestic product or GDP, which measure the total value of all goods and services produced in an economy. There is a strong empirical relationship between the size of country's economy and the volume of both its import and export. In here, I will explain about the using the gravity model, which is looking for anomalies. We see that the Netherlands, Belgium, and Ireland trade considerably more with the United States than a gravity model would have predicted. Why might this be the case? For the Ireland, the answer lies partly in cultural affinity. Not only does the Ireland share a language with the United States, but tens of millions of Americans are descended from Irish immigrants. Beyond this consideration, Ireland plays a special role as a host to many US-based corporations. In the case of both the Netherlands and Belgium, geography and transport costs probably explain the large trade with the United States. Both countries are located near the mouth of the Rhine, Western Europe's longest rivers, which runs past the Ruhr, the point entry to much of Northern Europe. Rotterdam in the Netherlands is the most important port in Europe, as measured by the tonnage handled, and Antwerp in Belgium ranks second. The large trade of Belgium and the Netherlands suggests, in other words, an important role of transport costs and geography is determining the volume of trade. The importance of these factors is clear when we turn to a broader example of the trade data. Okay, the next session is impediments to trade, distance, barriers, and borders. As we can see, in 2008, the two neighbors, or the United States, do a lot more trade with the United States than Europe economies of equal size. In fact, Canada, whose economy is roughly the same size as Spain's, trades as much with the United States as all of Europe does. Why does the United States do so much more trade with its North American neighbors than with its European partners? One main reason is the simple fact that Canada and Mexico are much closer. All estimate gravity models show a strong negative effect of distance on international trade, typically estimated that a 8% increase in the distance between two countries is associated with a fall of to 1% in the trade between those countries. For example, it is easy for the United States sales representative to pay a quick to visit to Toronto. But it is much higher project for that representative to go to Paris. Unless the company is based on the West Coast, it's even bigger project to Tokyo. In addition, being a US neighbor, Canada and Mexico are a part of a trade agreement with the United States, the North American and Free Trade Agreements or NAFTA, which is ensure that more good and better. However, that although trade agreements often endure formal barriers to trade between countries, that rarely make national borders irrelevant. Even when most goods and services ships across a national border, pay no tariffs and face few legal restrictions. There is much more trade between regions of the same countries and between equivalent situated regions in different countries. This border is a case in the point that two countries are a part of the Free Trade Agreements or NAFTA. Most Canadians speak English, but that's it is United States show that other things equal, there is much more trade between provinces than between provinces and United States. Intra-Canadian trade grows of the steadily with distance, but in each case, the trade between the British Columbia and a Canadian province is much larger than trade with unequal distant United States. The effect of distance in gravity models to calculate that the Canadians and United States border, although it is one of the most open borders in the world, has a much effect in deterring trade as if the countries were between 1,500 and 2,500 miles apart. Why do borders have such a large negative effect on trade? In this explanation will be explained by my partner Gaby Soipargo. Okay, for Gaby, time and place it is yours.
Thank you, Devo, for your opportunity. And has the world gotten smaller? Yes, the world has gotten smaller due to modern communication and transportation. For example, while I'm presenting here, I can also communicate with my friend that is in America. And this means that the internet gives instant and easy access to people to communicate even though they are 1,000 miles apart. On the other hand, the gravity models give negative relationship between distance and international trade. Have such effects grown weaker over time? Yes, it grew smaller in 1840 and 1914, but it got bigger again in 20th century. The world GDP has risen to vertical disintegration, and it means that before a product reaches to our hands, it goes through many different production stages in different countries. What do we trade? As a whole, we trade manufactured goods, mineral products, agricultural products, and also services. Do you know service offshoring? Service offshoring is the relocation of a business process from one country to another. Here, let's take an example of call centers. They can answer our questions even though they are 1,000 miles apart from us.
Okay, now I will explain you about Richardian theory. Basically, this theory is telling us about labor productivity and comparative advantage. But before we start, let me tell you why countries are joining the international trade. So basically, there are two main reasons why countries are joining the international trade. The first is, as we know, every country are different, whether it is from the technology, specialty, efficiency, resources, etc. So, in order to fulfilling their needs, they have to cooperate with other countries in the international trade. And the second, every country strive to achieving their economies of scales in production so that they can produce in a specific or focus in a range of goods. They can produce it in a larger amount so that they can produce efficiently. There are several assumptions in this theory. The first one is the components. There are three components in this theory. The first one is there are two countries, and the second there are two goods, and last but not least there is one resource. And in this presentation, let's assume that the two countries are Japan and Indonesia, and the two goods are batik and electronics, and for the resource is the labor. There are other assumptions here, which are technology, market, government, and the wage gain is equals to the output, which means there is no profit here. We only focus on the output or the quantity of the product. So the next is the relative prices. So we can conclude that the economy will specialize in the production of batik if the relative price of batik exceeds its opportunity cost in terms of electronics and vice versa.